Welcome back to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Murph. Now, today we're going to bring on somebody that's in an ecosystem that's very interesting to me. Now, as we all know, the Cardano ecosystem pumped. It's having a small retracement. My guess it's got more pump to go. And if it plays out that way, what will happen is people will be looking at the other ecosystems and what's interesting and happening in the other ecosystems. And one of those biggest ecosystems is the Kusama ecosystem. Now, why Kusama? Well, a lot of what's going to end up being on Polkadot is going to go through Kusama first. And my guess is some of the projects that go into the Kusama ecosystem will love the Kusama ecosystem and might not ever migrate. We'll see how that plays out, but my guess is it plays out just like that. And with that said, we have a special guest on from one of the top projects on the Kusama ecosystem. Now, you know that I like Launchpads. And the reason I like Launchpads is because a lot of the top up-and-coming projects come through those Launchpads. And so with the first Launchpad on the Kusama network, specifically on it, is Kusama Starter. And we have Siwon Kim here from Kusama Starter to join you. Now, you might have caught my interview with him about 6 weeks ago, and hopefully you did. And this is a follow-up. Siwon, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here again.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Really enjoyed the interview last time, and would love to get in. I guess for those in the audience that didn't catch the first interview, could you
Mhm.
tell everybody a little bit about Kusama Starter?
Sure. KSM Starter is designed to be the first primary launchpad on Kusama. But I want people to think of KSM Starter as something more than just a launchpad. So when you think of a launchpad, it usually just helps projects in the initial momentum and sort of build up that hype until the IDO date, right? And after the IDO happens, well, that's the where the role of these launch pads pretty much finish, and they don't care anymore. But what we're doing is by helping these projects launch their IDOs, we are also offering this long-term support. So we are helping these projects succeed long term, but at the same time making sure that our communities are investing in projects that KSM Starter ourselves are going to be supporting on long term. So those are some, I would say, the key differences, and that's what KSM Starter is all about. Then, we also have quite a few wide array of products other than just IDO that people can take advantage of. And yeah, those are some things that I'll be sharing today.
Yeah, look forward to that. You said you had some special announcements, but you didn't even give me a sneak peek. So I'm going to be learning at the same time as everyone else.
Sure.
No, I kept saying Kusama Starter, but is KSM Starter. That was my slip, but in my mind, that's how I think about it. So what is going on with KSM Starter?
Sure. So there are two quite exciting developments in the technical front. And these are some things that we have noticed while building. Which what we have noticed is that since we started building our launchpad, based on Solidity, right, based on Ethereum, and then
Hmm.
we were porting it over to Kusama using Moonbeam as that EVM. And during the process, what we have figured out is that there is an inherent shortcoming in how EVM bridges are being designed. And that is that these bridges, in most people's minds, are being built as a separate infrastructure. So, when you think of normal bridges, like let's say you're driving and you're going from point A to point B, in your perspective, this bridge is just a road to get to from point A to point B. It's pointless if the bridge is not a bridge but a detour, right? But in most end users' mind right now, EVM bridges are actually a detour, right? So let's say you're porting over from Ethereum to Kusama, then you start on Ethereum, you go all the way to like Moonbeam or any other EVM, and then you get to Kusama. So it's not a direct bridge, it's a sort of a detour. When we have done some close testing, we have found out from the testing audience that, this is really confusing for them. And for Launchpad, adoption is key, and we all know
Hmm.
that with an increasing degree of confusion, it takes a massive hit on adoption. We've been thinking about, okay, well, what can we do to solve this, right? This is the first time that I'm actually saying this to the public. But what we have done is that, we have built this EVM bridge in the back end, but in the front end, what the end users will see is actually just a simple switch, right? So they can actually, through this clicking on the switch, they can toggle between Ethereum and Kusama. And when they turn on this switch, then it actually prompts their MetaMask wallet to change the network, so they can actually participate on Kusama-based IDOs using their MetaMask wallet. They don't have to get a Math wallet or Poker wallet or anything like that. So there's that level of sort of making things a lot easier for people. What that also means is the KSM Starter is now a cross-chain IDO platform, so we are able to cater IDOs on both Ethereum and Kusama. So what will happen, we believe, is since a lot of people are used to Ethereum IDOs, they come for these IDOs and then they wonder, oh, what does this switch do? They switch it over and then they see a whole new other IDOs happening on Kusama also, and they can participate that using their MetaMask wallet also, right? So that we believe it solves a lot of the issues. It makes things a lot more simpler, and hopefully we'll see a lot of adoption. And this, I believe, solves the issue that we've been trying to solve about how do we bring people from Ethereum community and move them to substrate-based communities such as Kusama, while still building things, on Kusama. And I believe this is that ideal middle ground that we have been searching for. And this is now fully built, sort of tested out. Obviously, it'll go live when Moonbeam goes live, of course. But we're fully ready to offer this to the public. And yeah, so we'll also make the video demonstration about how this works, and we will be releasing that to the public quite shortly.
That is amazing. I'm sure the audience caught the significance of that, right?
Mhm.
That's really a big deal. I didn't even know you were working on that, so that's fantastic to hear because you know there's so much difficulty when you're new in crypto, right? And so I had a brother that's new in crypto, and he figured out how to get a MetaMask wallet and everything pretty quickly. But when you're new, like I've been trying to dabble in the Solana ecosystem, and boy, the wallets there are a mess.
Mhm.
And though, I learned how to use MetaMask, I don't know, a year, 2 years ago, and so the familiarity is there. And so the fact that we can just integrate with what we already know, I absolutely love that because I was not looking forward to getting yet new sets of wallets for the dot ecosystem, right, in the Kusama ecosystem. So literally what you're saying is we can just use our MetaMask wallet and toggle the switch back and forth.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, of course, there are some other solutions out there where people can manually change the network they're using on MetaMask and add, like EVM networks there and change it. But, most people who are participating in IDO, well, they don't know how to do it. And even if they do know how to do it, and they're usually rushing into the IDO, right? So they don't have time for it. So we kind of cater to these needs, and this is something that we have developed, and I'm very proud of our team to have accomplished that.
That's awesome. That'll make usability way higher, and I think people will love that.
Yeah.
So now the audience, even though they've been aware of KSM Starter, they've been wondering when can they finally buy some tokens or how can they participate in some tokens. Can you share with them when you're doing your release or how they can get KSM tokens?
Sure. The date has not been publicly announced yet.
Okay.
And the reason for this is because you know we have the tendency to triple, quadruple check everything. And especially with these new features being added, we wanted to make sure that everything is audited, everything is 100% secure before we even launch. Because we
Mm-hmm.
want, when we launch, we want people to be able to see in full what the capabilities are, not like, oh, we have to wait till, I don't know, Q2 2022 or whatever. So that's why it has not been publicly announced yet. But internally speaking, we have set on an IDO date for sure, which is in, I don't want to give out too much, but it's definitely in less than a month. So the countdown will begin pretty shortly. We will be opening the public sale whitelist in a short while. So I think that is what people can really look forward to. And in terms of the public whitelist, um, this is kind of another bit of an update, I guess, is, during the whole time we have been asked by a lot of our community members saying, Well, in a lot of these sort of, whitelisting campaigns, what usually happens is, it's usually people who use bot entries, people who are kind of whales who take these allocations. So how can they take part in it? And I wholeheartedly agree with them, right? Because I remember when I was first starting in crypto, and maybe I had like $100 in my wallet, and I want to get involved in stuff, but if you're just a small guy, then you may not have a lot of these opportunities, no matter how sort of big fan you are in the projects that you're supporting. So meanwhile, we have been busy trying to solve this issue. So what we actually have done is we have come up with an algorithm through some partnerships that is being finalized at the moment. An algorithm that scans people's wallets, and what this does is it analyzes how people trade and how people participate, right? So, of course, it's also contingent on market situation. We are not going to punish people for selling the tokens to minimize their loss or whatever. It's contingent on market situation. But this way, what we're building is a full behavioral profile of our users. And what we do is, then most launchpads, what they would do is actually shortlist these, people who are, who are holders, who actively participate in staking and things like that, and then kind of shortlist them and then get them into whitelist, kind of fudge with the lottery a little bit. But obviously, I want to respect the integrity of the lottery itself. So we have come up with a multiplier system. So that means that, if no matter how small you are in terms of the money you have in your wallet, if the behavioral sort of analysis determines that you tend to hold the tokens, you tend to support the tokens you hold by participating in their programs, in their liquidity mining or staking or whatever, then you're assigned a higher multiplier. Then this multiplier is actually put into effect in how the lottery is done. So let's say that you have a multiplier of 4, then you have 4 times the chance of being whitelisted for allocation chances. So we're giving a really fair shot to those people who may be just starting in crypto, but want to really want to be a big fan of it. So this is something that we will actually be putting into effect from our very own launch, from our whitelisting allocation process. And yeah, I mean, we're really excited to have that. And I think it's going to be the very first time something like this is being done in the space. And, I'm really looking forward to it.
That's amazing. I see a lot of my audience. Some are new, and being new doesn't mean they don't have a lot of assets. Some of the people that watch the channel make 200 or 300,000 a year in their
Mhm.
daily lives, their regular lives. But some of them are like joining us from all kinds of countries, Argentina, all parts of Africa, and everything. And so for them, yeah, a couple $100 is their seed money to try to grow.
Mhm.
So I like that you're making it easier for them to buy and hold and have a chance to do well. So
Yeah.
really love that. And for anyone who hasn't checked out the previous interview, I'll put the video at the end, as well as you can just look through my video history and find it, because we go a lot more in depth on what KSM Starter is doing. There's some pretty unique things that they're doing, apart from being the first launchpad on Kusama, which is important. Second is some of the unique things that they're doing like this, to help especially people who are real, who will buy and hold the tokens, and kind of give them a better shot at future upcoming allocations.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, one more thing to sort of add there is, so now I sound like I'm always in the side of the little guys for some reason, but we have also faced some questions about people asking, well, what happens when the value of KSM starter tokens go astronomically up, then it becomes too expensive to participate in these IDOs. So, what do they do? So we are currently in the process of developing a solution where first we allow people to decide how much of their maximum allocation they want to take, and whatever amount of that allocation that they don't take is then added to a pool. And after all the tiers have purchased their allocation, this leftover allocation is put into a pool of first come first serve basis. And we are currently discussing whether anyone who doesn't even have KSM starter tokens would be able to participate in this pool. or making it super low, such as zero point 0.1 KST token, to be able to participate in this first come first serve pool. So this way, we are really making sure that even in the future, we are able to continue to be inclusive, because that level of community inclusiveness is something that we truly embrace at KSM Starter.
It's awesome. And so I was going to ask, your ticker symbol will be what, but you just answered that, KST token. So that's something that they can look for. Cool. So you're launching possibly in the next month. They can participate, and then there's different tiers, and you can see that in the prior video that I go over. Also, I'll put a link under Seymour to their website, so you can check that out and get a feel for it, because it is usually easiest to get Launchpad tokens when they first launch, because often the price goes up, and who knows, in this market it's a little bit hot. The Don Kusama ecosystem have not been super hot yet, so you might have a chance of a couple weeks there, but once a lot of the movement shifts to the Dot ecosystem and Kusama ecosystem, then usually the price of Launchpad tokens skyrocket. So yeah, just want to make all the viewers aware of that, because there were some Launchpads that I slept on the last cycle, and they were trading for about $4, and later I had to buy them at $70, and that was painful. And like, it wasn't even I was buying the tokens for appreciation on them, and they did go to $110 at the high, but it was so that I could have a chance to participate in some of the launches that they were doing. And some of those launches did tremendous and made me a good amount of money, which made me feel better about paying so much for the token. But I did not love that, because instead of paying about $3,000 or $4,000, I ended up paying like 17 or 20,000, because I hadn't yet realized the power of a good Launchpad. Well, so you've been hard at work. That's some amazing things that, looking forward to. I know that stuff takes time, and it seems like you guys knocked that out really fast.
Yeah,
Says a lot for your dev team.
yeah, it's quite amazing how fast we're able to develop, because usually when I'm on the call with the dev team, within a 30-minute call, we are able to do a whole ideation of the product and discuss the business logic of it and decide on how it's going to work out. And then within a couple of weeks, it's there, the prototype is ready to be tested. So it's quite amazing to see how quickly we can accomplish these, and how high quality it can be. So I'm really proud of them. And, especially when you compare it to other parachain slot winners, such as Karura and Moonbeam, who really need a lot of time to really get things sort of off the ground. So we are in a unique situation where our solutions are completely ready, and we're just relying on those two first movers to get take things off, and then our solution will be automatically deployed. So I'm really proud of our team. I have to give it to them where credit is due.
Yeah, they sound like they're solid. Question about that, like, so you'll be launching possibly in the next month without us knowing a hard date. I imagine that some projects are already lining up to launch through you.
Yeah.
So how long do you think after you launch your token that some of the launches will start after that?
Sure. So, I mean, in terms of the projects coming into the deal flow, I've been getting a lot of pitches lately. I think so far I've been through maybe 12 or 13 decks at the current moment in the past 2 weeks or so. And out of those, we have shortlisted 4 projects. So, they are all committed to doing their IDO on KSM Startup. But obviously, for me, when it's deciding which one is going to go first or second, and so on, I want to be 100% merit based, right? So there may be a project that approached us first, but that doesn't mean that they're going to get the first launch the first launch slot. I tell all of them equally that they all have an equal shot at becoming the first launch, and therefore continue developing, continue to show solid work, solid product, and based on pure merit alone, we'll decide which one goes first. So they have been developing away very rapidly, very high quality projects. So our timeline is that we want to host the first one of the first IDOs within the same week of our launch. So so that means that those people who get allocation for a public sale will have to wait not even a few days until the next IDO comes up. So we want to make sure that we waste absolutely no time for our token holders to start enjoying the full utility of the tokens. Because it's kind of pointless to purchase a token and then you say, okay, now what do I do with it, right? It's it's not really what you want to see. So after the launch, the pace is going to get pretty fast, and yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see.
That's cool. It might even correspond with when the Dot and Kusama ecosystems take off. We'll see how that plays out, right? So yeah, I figured with Cardano's launch coming up, that would take off. But as a lot of money is made there, a lot of times, you've been around the space for forever. People start looking for what's next, and of
Yeah.
course, Dot is one of the ecosystems that they're going to pay most attention to, and because of that, Kusama. And what's funny is, Dot tends to pump. The Kusama ecosystem tends to pump more. So
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting to see because you've seen, like, we've all seen Cardano pumping their price quite rapidly, you know really solid. And then recently you had Solana pumping also quite a bit. And then so you start to see this trend of ecosystem tokens really getting a lot of attention. But when you see Kusama and Polkadot tokens, they have not enjoyed such a positive price rally in the recent weeks compared to the others. So I personally believe that Kusama and Polkadot tokens are extremely undervalued, and I've been I've been buying those up pretty regularly. But I think the time for these to explode and go absolutely mayhem is coming up very soon.
yeah, you summarized something that I talk about frequently with my audience. See, a lot of my audience is new to crypto. They're also new to investing. And
Hmm.
so what we tend to do when we're new is we chase what's pumping. I call it chasing green candles. And I've got a rap at the end that I'm going to play for the audience. Many of my audience have heard this. If you haven't, you definitely want to stick around. The audience wants to stick around and listen to it because the rap specifically was written to reinforce these principles. And one of the things it says is buy when it's boring. That's what I frequently say. And what that really means is buy low, right? So what's funny is we all know intuitively buy low and sell high. And so on this channel, even though I teach these principles, I can't tell you specifically what to buy. That's up to the audience to make a decision. But I like to buy when it's boring. And so when, like, say, Cardano itself is pumping like crazy, that's not a buy time for me. I bought when it was boring. So then I'm looking at what else is boring that has real substance to it that then might take off, and that's what I focus on. So as much as I keep an eye on what's pumping and I look at what it's doing, one of the big reasons I'm looking at what it's doing is I'm looking at, okay, do I roll some of my profits from this into things that are boring? And that system has worked extremely well for me.
Hmm.
And for those who follow it, works extremely well for them. And that's why I kind of put this together in a fun little wrap for the audience, that they can listen to at the end of the videos that just kind of reinforce these principles.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's also quite. I mean, you're absolutely right because from my perspective of a project builder, I kind of tend to look at it in what kind of projects are being offered to the market, right? So when Doge was taking off, by a lot, you had a lot of these meme based tokens, coming out left and right, and I think a lot of people tend to say, oh, they're just they're just taking the opportunity and trying to get greedy. I mean, they're kind of right, yeah, but we also need to know that the people behind it are very smart because they know that when Doge, like for example, when meme token like Doge has pumped, people are going to be looking at what other opportunities, what other similar opportunities are there, and then therefore they know that the captured audience is there, and therefore they launch the tokens there, right? So and so both from the demand side and from the supply side, the rule of kind of being focused on the potentially what's next, not being focused on what's pumping right now, but what is similar in nature but has not pumped. I think that rule has been proven by both the supply and demand side of the crypto ecosystem. So I think you're absolutely bang on right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would add one part in that I look for substantive teams because it's like you mentioned a good point. It's not only like what's next, but then I look for substantive teams. For example, like I had a lot of, I call them Me Too projects, like in the gaming, because like Axie Infinity has done tremendously. And so I've seen like this pop up of thrown together gaming things that like they have maybe just an idea, they have other things, they don't really have the team in my opinion to pull it off. A bunch wanted to advertise on the channel and I just had to say no, 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 because I look for substantive teams, because though they're in the right ecosystem, if they're not in like a project that can carry out what they're talking about or within a time frame, then I don't want to cover them. I try to bring my audience kind of a very select number of projects that, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, have the best shot at doing well, either for just this run, but particularly for the long run.
Yeah.
And if I do think it's just this little moment in time, I do disclose that to my audience, that I can't tell you how they'll do long term, but for this play. And so, I do think with kind of Cardano's ecosystem taking off, Solana's ecosystem, people will then be looking at the other ecosystems. We've seen that a little bit with Avalanche. It hasn't rolled over to DOT and Kusama yet, and I just emphasize the word yet. And so I usually look at, okay, it's boring there, but they'll have some things coming up, and they're going to continue the parachain auctions. That's a big deal. And at some point, Cardano's ecosystem, though I love that ecosystem, will have some pullbacks and the momentum shifts somewhere else. And so then everyone will be FOMOing into the DOT ecosystem and everything. And that's when I then, like after it pumps significantly, I look for taking my initial investment back out, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Any other announcements you can give the audience before we end?
I mean, there's a lot sort of under the wraps, right? I mean, we are also actively looking into the NFT space.
Yeah.
In terms of offering certain sort of, I would say, smart NFTs, because holding these NFTs do give significant utility benefits. So that is something that will be rolled out shortly before the launch. So I think that is something that people can look forward to. And I think now, it's about the time when, I can start focusing on the quality of the projects coming in, right? Because I can, put my hand on my heart and 100% say that, KSM Starter's quality is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So now I can kind of, lend a little bit of my expertise to upcoming idea projects. And I think they are extremely promising. I've been fundamentally blown away by especially a few of them. And there is also one project that is going to be very unique to KSM startup community, KSD token holders, because they have fully fledged to skip private sale completely, not onboard any VCs, and just go straight to the public, because that's kind of their main ethos. So I think there are going to be many different types of unique opportunities, and yeah, I'm just really excited for what's coming up, and I just can't wait to have everyone enjoying the benefits of KSM Startup.
That's a really fun idea. I hope more projects go that way, because then they can grab more of a base that can get in their token at the floor price,
Yeah.
a base of support that will hopefully stick with them. That's cool.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing who that is.
Yeah, absolutely. More information coming soon, of course.
Perfect. Thank you, Siwan. I appreciate you joining. I'm going to send the audience over to that wrap I've been talking to them about. Also, if you haven't already, join our Telegram group. There's some very smart people in there. So if you're new or you're experienced or whatever, I do pop into that community multiple times a day usually, as well as I've got some great admins in there. Some of my admins, my admins are exceptionally smart and bright, as well as many of the community members that they're not new to crypto. They understand these principles very well, and you'll see some really good analysis in there. So you can follow that on the link below. Also, I will put a link to Kusama's starters, KSM. Boy, I should have had my coffee in the morning. The funny thing is I don't drink coffee, so maybe I need an energy drink. But I keep saying Kusama Starters, KSM Starter, and it will be the KST token. Thank you, Siwan, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, you buy before you're good. Was taught to buy when it was boring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I sit the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't lead with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Why when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, go parabolic then dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. The time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but when knowledge the game show. Sticking at this wrong, cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. Naysayers come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. I'm sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. In 2 years time the bull will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go with the hate, let the haters be crapping. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.